This is Casey Webb from Man vs. Food, and you're listening to the Man Cave Chronicles podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Man Cave Chronicles.
Welcome to the party, pal!
You're my boy, Blue!
Yo, Adrian!
A podcast with interviews of amazing guests from the world of pop culture.
Oh, yeah!
TV.
Nice!
Movies.
Oh, I love the movies.
Comedy and more. From deep inside the Man Cave. Your host, Elias.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 100. It's been a great ride so far for the show. Thank you for tuning in. I have some amazing guests lined up for the podcast, and I can't wait for all of you to check it out. This week's guest is Casey Webb, host of Man vs. Food and Best Places to Pig Out. We talk about his career, projects, and his TV shows. Make sure you check out the podcast on our website, www.themccpodcast.com, where you can find all of our latest news and archive episodes, as well as links to our social media handles and email. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. It was fun talking to Casey. Casey, welcome to the cave.
Hey! Wow, there's a lot of room in here. Bigger than most caves I've been in.
What's going on with you, man? What's new?
Me freezing my tuchus off in Brooklyn, but other than that, things are good, man. Got to, outside of Man vs. Food, got to work on another show called The Best Places to Pig Out, which is on Travel Channel currently, which was a lot of fun. It's an hour-long show that I narrate, so we just wrapped on that, which was kind of great. And we're staring down the barrel of a fourth season of Man vs. Food, waiting to hear about that. So, yeah, things are good, man. Yeah, you know.
So I was gonna say, the listeners know you, of course, for Man vs. Food. It's one of my favorite shows. I enjoy watching it with my wife and my kids. And we'll talk about that.
The family.
There you go.
The whole family.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah. My three.
Thanks, man.
My 4-year-old daughter. Whenever I put it, she'll be 4 actually in April. When I turn it on the TV, she'll sit down and watch it with me.
Wait, that's you know what? That was one of the best things I heard coming off the road when the first season started airing. Friends were like, "Hey, we watch it." I'm like, "Oh, cool." Like, no, we as a whole family watch it. I was like, "Oh man, that's great." And then the kids start watching on their own. They don't want their parents to watch it. That's also happened as a result. So, wait, when's your daughter's birthday?
April 1st.
Oh, mine is the 27th. I'm an April baby myself, and I dated someone. She was April 1st too. Yeah.
It's a good month.
It's a good day. So, it's a great month. Spring.
So I want the listeners to know a little bit more about you. Where are you originally from?
So I was born and raised in New Jersey in a little town called Little Silver, which is about, like an hour from New York City, right near the ocean. It's like right where the shore begins. There's 140 some odd miles of beach. Wow. And Sandy Hook is the tip of that, and that's pretty much where we went to as kids to go in the ocean. I mean, I'm a freckly, pale-faced, or was chubby, or still am. So we went to the beach, but I avoided the sun as much as possible. But I grew up there. Both my parents are from New York originally, but I was lucky to live in the suburbs and also have New York as a place to retreat to. Which now I do the reverse. I retreat to Jersey from the city to get a little respite from the crazy up here. But this is home. Brooklyn's home, and Jersey's where I grew up.
How was it growing up there? What were you into as a kid?
I was into what my brother was doing. He's 4 years older than me, my brother Keith, and we were like a ragtag duo until like puberty, I guess. Until he discovered girls, and then he didn't want me around anymore. So, we were always outside, which is my parents really made sure of that as much as humanly possible. So we got to he had a backyard, so he was really into mini bikes, dirt bikes. We had a half pipe in our backyard. Manhunt. Everything outdoors really, which was great. And plus, we had the ocean really close by, and a lot of parks in the park system, which I wound up working for at one point, the Monmouth County Park System. So we spent a lot of time outside because we both kind of needed it. My brother and I would equate us to being like Labradors. Like, we just needed to run, like my mom was, raising us and my dad was working. She was a stay-at-home mom. So she had these two knucklehead boys beating each other up all the time. So she made sure that we exhausted ourselves outside, and she got a tan because she's Italian. So.
Did you play any sports or anything?
I did. It's funny. I as a chubby little husky Casey, a wee Casey, I every sport, until there was like the weight class. So like baseball, soccer, all those intramural sports in grade school, all that stuff. And I tried to play peewee or football, but I was too big. There was like a weight limit, which was BS in my opinion, because. But I wound up playing high school football and wrestling, a bit of track, and then I played college football for a hot second. Oh. And so yeah, football and wrestling. I mean, honestly, like two things really changed my life, and it was sports, and then it was acting. So like there was a huge shift in like my physical body. When I was when I first started playing football in high school. And then when I left it in college, I did a semester. I went to play D3 in Pennsylvania, played football, and I just realized I didn't want to do it anymore. And then that's when I actually started doing the acting stuff. But always in the restaurant business. I mean, I started working in the restaurant business at 14, 15. There was really no such thing as child labor laws when you're working for your friend's dad in a pizza place.
I think everybody had that dad when they were, you worked at a pizza place. I worked at I'm Greek, so there was restaurants everywhere in my life, and
you're always working in a restaurant. Yeah, you were born in a restaurant.
There you go, exactly. Yeah. So
my Greek buddies, they're all like their uncle had 3 diners, and they all worked for them. Like all my buddies, they all somehow affiliated with food, that's what I loved. My parents were very, they didn't come from much, and there wasn't they weren't like real food savvy folk. They just fed their kids whatever. My dad to this day, I'm like, oh, how would you eat today? Because he's 70 something. He just had knee surgery. He's like, oh, I had some fruit. I'm like, oh, what kind? He said Dole. Oh, Dole fruit, like not fresh fruit, just put out of a can. So he's used to eating out of a can. So my origins were pretty, they were simple, which I appreciate. He taught me how to make eggs, and then I took it from there.
So how did you transition into acting? What made you one day you want to get into acting and voiceover work?
So I went to college right out of high school. I was like one of the first guys to leave to go to football camp. So I left August 16th to go to football camp. And when I was there, I was like, I did really well in high school, and it was really, a lot of camaraderie with my friends, and it was a thing. And it wasn't until I realized that I was done with it, and I was done with the sport. And it was hard because I had to tell my brother and my dad. I wrote them a long letter because I really wanted them to be proud of me, and it's always been from the beginning, it's been my brother's voice and my high school football coach's voice in my head from the beginning, especially through all the man versus food stuff, the competitive stuff. But there's a point where I was like, I'm done using my head to run into people. I want to use it for something else, use it for the greater good. And I actually took a theater history class at the college that I went to, which was Wilkes-Barre College. Now it's Wilkes University. And at the same time, I had 3 of my closest friends on the planet. One was going to community college, where I wound up going to doing theater. And these guys I played sports with. These are bro-y guys that but they also had this other side that they didn't tap into till later in life too. And my other buddy went to American Academy of Dramatic Arts here in New York City. And then my other buddy was getting his undergrad in Vermont, and then he wound up getting his master's in New School Actor Studio. I couldn't afford to do when I was at that age, to go to a conservatory or get my undergrad through a major university. That's where the football helped. Football got me to college, basically. And then, I was done playing ball, and I stopped, and then I started doing theater at community college level, and I auditioned for a play, never having auditioned before, on a stage in front of 50 people, and I failed miserably. It was terrible. It was a horrible experience. Yeah. And then that's when I realized that this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. This is a challenge that I need to, it was sports were a challenge, like, this is my new challenge. So I just took it and ran with it. And, the whole time I was at the same time working in restaurants, waiting tables, working in kitchens, whatever. And I was pursuing acting in one way or another, doing comedy, doing improv, stand up, whatever I could do, theater. I mean, I was very serious at that time. I felt like I still had some stuff to get out, like sports got enough out of me. What are the childhood angst? And then I went into theater. It really helped, I could go be somebody else,
How was your involvement in theater, and did you enjoy doing theater?
For me, it was the outlet. Like, it was like, I could walk on stage and just it was another place where I could leave it all on the field. I mean, use all these sports analogies, but like, I was able to go deliver, do the homework, right? Go deliver my lines, whatever, and be present on stage. And it's if you've never done it, there's a high that comes with that. There's a buzz. There's a giving. There's a letting go. So for me, it was like, wow, this is huge. It was transformative for me. Because I didn't start it young, I had a whole other sense of it. Like, I didn't necessarily need to be part of a group. I was kind of doing it on my own. I kind of did it on my own. I was kind of a solo artist in that regard because, and it wasn't until I found a community of people much later in life in theater that I could be a part of. And that was really transformative too. And that was like 10 years ago, or even less than that. So yeah, for me, it was an awakening and it gave me a focus because I've always been all over the place, creatively, just like I need to be out doing something. I'm a physical person. So theater really helped me hone in and focus my energy and my thoughts and my ideas. So it was helpful that way too.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong. Like you say, you did this solo, and a few years later down the road, you're like, you know what? I did this by myself, and it's a good feeling about that.
Yeah, for sure. There's something, a guy built this thing up. I mean, trust me, I was around people that were doing it as well, but it wasn't until like, I moved back to New York several years ago, and I was working in restaurants, and I was commuting to audition, and I was living in New Jersey, and I didn't really have a community. Had my girlfriend, and I was auditioning for TV and film stuff. I wasn't really doing any theater, and I was just like, I feel like I'm missing something. And a friend of mine, actually, who I ran to an audition, she's part of this theater company called The Collective, which I've been a part of for the last several years. She's like, oh, there's plenty. I just broke up with my girlfriend, and there was plenty of people that there that you've met before that are part of this community of actors. And that kind of changed too, because then I had a focus. I could go and do work at this place. I could go, write my own scripts and things and ideas and stories and plays and come in and perform those and it was just like-minded people doing the same thing much later in life, because I started like 18. Now I'm in early 40s. So,
okay.
It takes a village, to be honest with you. And so when, the people that I find that are successful in this business have never stopped doing it, or they always keep going back to it to some degree, And
the most important thing, are you still having fun doing it?
Oh man, it's been so crazy and fun and thrilling and scary and all those things that I like to hustle, I like to be busy. My life has changed considerably in the last year and a half. I was used to going auditions every day, and now it's different. Now it's like I'm shooting a show a lot, or I'm working on another project. So I've had to make this tremendous shift, but yeah, man, I'm having a blast. I really, it's two worlds. My two worlds collided. I was working in restaurants and I was acting, right? And it was at a point where I got out of my own way, and I realized, like, I'm not two different people. I'm not a guy bartending and a guy acting. I'm the same person. And then there was really like a shift. And that's when I started getting more work. That's when I started, auditioning for bigger things. And then, I'm getting Men versus Food. And then that just took me to a whole other place. I never thought in my life that I'd be hosting a show that would bring me around the country, talking to people that are passionate about food, whether they're cooking it or they're eating it. It's been incredible. Coming from a restaurant background, it's been amazing,
So tell us about the audition for Man vs. Food, and how did you get that?
So I a director friend of mine. I was in this web series that was on YouTube called Part-Timers, and it was the first scripted web series that YouTube was going to put out behind the paywall on YouTube Red. Anyway, that director, Laura Murphy, who did Girl Code, all the MTV stuff, she's extraordinary. She introduced me to a gentleman at Don Buchwald agency called Conan. His name's Conan Smith, and he's head of like comedy development. And like we were like friendly, like two Irish guys, New York City. Like it was very easy. I bought a bottle of Jameson to his office, and we hit it off, And so I started pitching ideas to him, and one of them was a show that I would hosting show for a food show that I would co-host with a friend of mine. So he's like, shoot a proof of concept. Basically, that's a sizzle or a pilot of the show that you want to do, right? All right, great. So while I was doing that, he's like, oh, I have this audition for this hosting show. It's a new show. Do you have any interest? I'm like, yes, because as an actor, you're never in a position to say no to an audition. At least I've never been, because when you say no, you won't get another one. And especially if this is a new relationship, I want to be, I want to be a good little student and say yeah. So long and the short of it, I wound up having a Skype interview with a producer in my apartment. I wasn't really living there at the time. I may have been subletting it a lot just to pay the rent. And I sat and talked to a producer on my computer, and I was supposed to do a food segment, like talk about food and like actually have food prepared. I didn't realize that, or like I just didn't remember. I don't know. I was just busy at the time, I guess. So I wound up like leaving the computer, excuse me for a second, to see what I had in the cabinets or the fridge or whatever. And the only thing literally I had in my fridge was, and I'm opening my fridge now, was a jar of moonshine. So that I acquired from a friend that might have gotten it from somebody that made it in the woods. And I sat down, I took a deep breath, and I looked to the computer at the producer who I'd never met before. And I sat there and I talked about moonshine for 20 minutes. Wow. And apparently that was enough to get the audition, the physical audition, to actually, to audition for the show. So that led to a restaurant in New York City where they're holding auditions, a place called Clinton Hall downtown. Daryl Hammond is the executive producer, executive chef over there. He's great. So we did basically a shortened version of what the show is. We did a kitchen beat. I'm in the kitchen with the chef talking about stuff, making food. This is the first time I'm ever doing this ever in my life, a walk and talk. I'm walking down the street, introducing the restaurant, Yeah. And, like, I've never done this before in my life. And then, and then I'm talking to people on the floor, asking about the food. And then I go eat some crazy burger to the camera while, a bunch of the production people filled behind me and pretended to be, fans, whatever of the show. So it was basically a pretend version of what the show is. And I was like, wow, this feels a lot like Man vs. Food. They're like, no, this isn't. No, it's a whole new show. And because the whole time I thought Man vs. Food was still on. And then like I realized like, oh, it's been off the air. It was off the air for 5 years when I was auditioning for the new Man vs. Food. So they kept it under wraps. And it wasn't until I found out that I got the job, if I wanted it, I was in the offices of the production company signing paperwork, and one page said Big Eats, and every page thereafter in the contract said Man vs. Food. And I was like, whoa, what the, I got to call somebody, my mom, my agent, So that's kind of how it went down. It was just like, yeah. And we did 30 some odd episodes. We did 3 seasons later, and now we're looking at to be determined a 4th season. It seems like they want to do it. We're not 100% sure yet, but I'll know sooner than later if that's going to happen in 2019.
So you love food and you love traveling. What's like one of your favorite places that you've been to that you can't wait to go back?
Man. It's funny. I went to New Orleans for the first time by myself because I had never been there before, and I was doing this play in New York City, this Tennessee Williams project, this immersive project with some folks from Sleep No More, and it was like, all we do is talk about New Orleans because that's where Tennessee Williams lived, he wrote, whatever. So I go there by myself, and I have two friends that are there that got engaged down there. And they're like, are you in New Orleans? I'm like, yeah, I'm in New Orleans. And like, come hang out with us. So I got to see New Orleans through my friends' eyes that have been there for, they go every 6 months, So I got like firsthand experience New Orleans with them. And I fell in love. I was like, this place is incredible. 6 months later, after getting the show, I was about to find out if I got the show or not. while I'm in New Orleans. So 6 months later, I get the show and I'm back in New Orleans filming. It was incredible. So, like, and that episode to me still is one of the greatest food and life and cultural experiences that I'll probably ever have. You know, I look forward to more, but, you know, I made, you know, Creole gumbo from scratch with Leah Chase, who's 95, 96 years old, you know, and she's teaching me how to make gumbo. It's like, are you kidding me? You know, so New Orleans is very close to my heart. I feel like every time I go to New Orleans, I'm cheating on New York, but that's okay. I come back to New York, to Brooklyn. Pittsburgh stands out because I'd never been there before. And, you know, growing up, I had a very close friend of mine. Their family was Steelers fans. So I would be over the house watching Steelers games, even though I was a Giants fan, still am. And that was incredible. So going to Pittsburgh, you have these three major sports teams, a city that it's not Philly, it's not Chicago, it's not New York, it's its own thing. And the fans are amazing. The food is incredible. There's a great deal of history. There's a whole new food scene going on there. There's a lot of energy being pumped back into the city. There's this industrial feel. So those two places for me just like are extraordinary. And I got the chance to go to Minnesota 3 times. Wow. We shot 3 episodes in Minnesota over the last 3 seasons. And that's just another beautiful city. You got Minneapolis, St. Paul, you got Minneapolis, you got Duluth. There's a lot of natural things going on there, but there's also a lot of unnatural food things going on, which is like awesome, like a positive thing. Just like awesome food scene, great beer scene. And then you have this, you know, this beautiful, in the summertime especially, the weather is incredible. So like those are the 3 places. You know, and then we went to Maui, which was like, I joked about going. I was like, hey, why don't we go to Hawaii? Yeah. And then we're like, all right, we're going to Hawaii in the 3rd season. I'm like, what? Really? If I just say it, it comes true. I'm like, all right, Alaska, you know, let's go to New Mexico. So fingers crossed on those other 2 places. Yeah. But yeah, man, you know what I found, to be honest with you, despite the places that stand out, like as I'm talking to you, every place that we went to, like there's a nucleus of food and energy and like there's scenes everywhere. Yeah. Like we were in Michigan, we were in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and their food and beer scene is incredible. We were in, you know, Boise, Idaho, you know, like and like their food and beer scene is unbelievable. Like, and you don't know it until you go, you know, like, and so I really encourage people to go. Like you do some research, you know, watch some shows on, you know, on these food channels, not just Man versus Food, but, and also with that, it's like, I'm getting ahead of myself, but like anytime a show, not just Man versus Food, but anytime any show goes to any restaurant anywhere in the country, and coming from a food background, we have the opportunity to increase their business, or the show does, by 40%. We can increase business in someone's restaurant 40%. That blows my mind because like, coming from places, I've worked in places that failed, you know, that were mom and pop and they had to close their shop. If we can increase someone's business by 40%, that's amazing to me because we can keep the lights on, fix the roof, pay for payroll, that sort of thing. So, like, not only is it great and exciting to visit these cities and eat food, but it's like, what is the impact they're having? Big picture stuff that's totally out of my real hands, but in the power of the actual show or the nature of us visiting there. And I get to do that on the ground floor talking to people. You know, I get to start that conversation, which is
great.
Amazing. Well, listen to me go on, but yeah.
So, no, it's okay. So with all the travels that you've done, you must have met some amazing people and fans, the different states you visit.
Yeah, incredible. Like, cause like, we didn't know, well, let's say I didn't know. I didn't know what the impact of this was going to be. I didn't even know what it was going to look like. I had a sense of what it was, but I was very lucky to have the, you know, Sharp Entertainment is the production company that did the original show, and then they're this same company that's doing the new Man versus Food. So I had a trust in them, and I did, and I was able to do that, and that allowed me to be myself, and that allowed me to just to have fun and make, you know, restaurants and travel exciting, and it is, you know, because restaurant business can be very stressful, and it doesn't have to be. And so I hope with the show we're able to portray that. So the people along the way, it wasn't until the show started airing that, you know, like little kids, you know, that know, like we were in Boston and we were taking a tour of Boston Beer Company. Okay. And there's 2 little girls that were like, I heard out of the corner, I just heard it like, oh, that's Casey from Man vs. Food. Their parents like, no. And then I turned around and their parents like, oh my God, it's you. So it's like little kids, you know, notice because they're watching the show. And then like I have there's adults in the airport that like, that are like, man, I love the show, just like from a distance,
Yeah.
So it's like it runs the gamut from little kids to older people, and then families. When I first got off the road and the first season started airing, my buddies were like, dude, the show's great. We love the show. I was like, oh, you're watching it. Great. He's like, no, man, we're watching it as a family, like all of us.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's incredible. And like not knowing, like you put yourself out there, and you just try to do your best, and then the results come back to you tenfold, man. I mean, not only the people just that watch the show, but then the people that I get to meet that are working in these kitchens that are in love with their food, that have been doing it for a long time, that are passionate about their menus and passionate about their customers. I get to talk to the people that are making it, and then the people that love their food. Yeah. So it's like a win-win for me,
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just a conduit, for the good food and the people that love it, So
what do you think has been your best experience being the host of the show?
Wow. I would, it's a big loaded question. For me, honestly, I think to really sit back and because like when you're in it, and I don't have time to think about the results. I'm just kind of doing it, and honestly, it's been the response and the smiles from people and how excited people get and how comfortable people are to come up and talk to me, because I would never in my life want to turn a person away, that might want to take a picture or say hello or, there's no ego there for me at all. And it's like, and if I'm in my head and somebody comes up to me and is like, hey, you mind if we get a pic? Love the show. It's like, I try to match their energy, and it gets me out of my head. It helps me be present, and remember what it is I'm doing and the effect it has. So I appreciate the nature of being able to perform, be a performer, to act, to make people laugh, and to, if I can make someone smile and laugh and get them out of their head as they do when they meet me on the street, I feel like I've done my job. And then in the same, I feel so thankful that comes full circle back to me. Someone approaches you smiling, like randomly, a stranger, because oftentimes it's like, hey, Casey Webb. I'm like, I don't know who you are, but hey, how are you? So I try to match their energy, and I think it's just a beautiful moment. It's a thing that I get to share with those people that know the show, so that's really special, and it's like I'm the same person on the show. In my normal life, I just don't necessarily eat that way all the time.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the eating, like, how do you prepare for those challenges? Mentally and physically,
So, mentally, I'm always, I think I said this earlier, but like, I hear my brother and my high school football coach in my head during the challenges, right? That's the challenge part.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I've had to look to the pros because, after 3 seasons, I still don't consider myself a pro. I mean, I just look like I eat a lot of food. My brother is 6'1" and thin and ripped, and he could eat me for days. So it's like I really had to look to the pros about how to prepare, because you really have to prepare yourself. Ideally I want to win, but I more or less consider myself the underdog. I may or may not win. It's like any given Sunday, man. I give my best. But I might not, and sometimes, honestly, like I go into this, I've gone into challenges where I don't know, and then I beat it, and then I go in real confident, and I don't. So like game day, it's any given Sunday. So with the spicy stuff, I incorporate spicy food into my diet when I'm about to take those challenges on. I do like spicy food, but I think it's important to dose yourself, as they say. Incorporate. I have a pepper mill in my cabinet right now that's on the top shelf so no one can see it, but it's filled with ghost chilies, and I crack it into soup. I'm actually doing it right now. I'm just doing it for fun because I like spicy food. And then the heavyweight stuff, the big stuff, the capacity stuff is you gotta take on larger amounts of food. You gotta be able to eat and absorb, that's it's not easy, man. It's like it is a sport, and the guys that are really good at it are really good at it. And so I've taken from them what they do, how to prepare, and it's a lot of working out, man. I mean, I've always worked out. I like working out. I enjoy it. It clears my head, gets me focused. But in addition to that, all the calories I'm taking on, it definitely, you have to. I got constantly working out, and so yeah, man, I'm eating well, I'm eating healthy, working out, and so I could take on those crazy challenges, and
so
be there to do the next one.
Yeah.
So
is the show moving to the cooking channel?
So yeah, as a result, Discovery Network absorbs Scripps Network, so there's a lot of changes in programming. Not only is Man vs. Food is actually, they've been showing 2 episodes on Travel Channel in the morning before the new show that I did narration for, which is an hour-long show called The Best Places to Pig Out. They're showing a couple episodes to lead into Best Places to Pig Out, which is a really fun show. But it's going to permanently live, as we know, on Cooking Channel.
Okay.
So Cooking Channel is part of Cooking, or Discovery has Cooking, Travel, Food Network, HGTV, and a bunch of other affiliates.
Okay.
So it's just a shift because programming, it's all paranormal and adventure on Travel, and they want to move food to food stations. So Man vs. Food isn't really formatted for the way shows are on Food Network, but it can fit in the cooking world, which is great. We have a home because it actually it was more like it was done on Travel, and we didn't have a home, and they decided to pick it up on Cooking, so which is really exciting. So it's all pluses, I get to be on Cooking Channel. Yeah.
So tell us about your new show.
Best Places to Pig Out?
Yeah, what is it? What's it? Well, obviously it's about the best place to pig out, but tell us a little bit about it.
So the same production crew that we traveled around with around the country for Man vs. Food has taken a step further for an hour-long show programming, going to several places in each episode over the course of an hour to the best places to pig out around the country, whether it be just delicious, monstrous food or just delicious, outrageous foods. And so I get to narrate that show, I was in New York, and I get to go to a studio and go into the sound booth and record, which I love doing voiceover work. So I get to scratch that itch for this particular, we did 10 episodes, they're an hour long. And I feel like it's a real extension of Man vs. Food. I feel like it's like Man vs. Food plus. You don't get to see my face, but you get to hear my silly voice, and it's the same shenanigans, but with other people, with more people, other than me.
So
it's a lot of fun, man.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to watch it. Actually, I'm gonna look for it.
Oh yeah, please.
So, tell us a little bit about Husky for Life. You're always talking about that in your social media.
So as a kid, my mom threw me on a runway stage where I modeled Husky winter fashions of the 80s. So I've always dealt with being a bigger guy. From the time I was a little kid, I was a bigger kid. Baby fat only lasts so long. You can only use that excuse for so long. Freshman 15, all these two, he's big boned, all these things, But there was a point in my life that I had to come to terms with, especially with acting. It's like, what's your type? Who are you? And, there was a point in my life where I just accepted this is who I am. This is my physical body, and take me or leave me. And I'm going to move through life being this guy. And I had to come to terms with that. And so the greatest reminder of that was my Instagram handle, which is I am Husky for Life. As a result of that, and I feel other people, with the body image movement, people being comfortable in their own skin, I think it's important to me. So I feel like if it's important to somebody else, they can appreciate it. So what we did was we took it a step further and started printing hats and shirts and baby onesies. I know we got a phone case or something. I definitely have. I just got the trucker hat, because only trucker hats fit my huge head. So and it says Husky for Life on it. So I could be reminded that it's okay to be who you are in your own skin, and there's nothing wrong with being big boned, husky, or chubby.
You're right about that. I've been trying to lose weight for years. It's tough.
Yeah, you know what? You might as well accept it, because it's I know it's not paying any rent, but it's part of who you are.
So I saw online you adopted a dog.
Yeah. So AC Rowe, who's a very dear friend of mine, also my manager and business partner. We have a production company called Coattail Media. Him and his girlfriend Jenny, they've fostered dogs for many years in the past. And before all of the MVF stuff, and I used to dog sit for them. So like, and so they have fostered dogs in the past, and they were fostering. There was a breed that I really fell in love with, and as it turned out, this particular breed, it was a dog. It was a rescue that needed a foster home, and he immediately started fostering a dog. He's like, so the breed is called Brussels. I say Griffin, but it's Griffon.
Okay.
Sounds fancy, but they look basically like little tiny Ewoks. They're about like 11 to 12 pounds, and so AC and his girlfriend have been fostering him, and now he's coming home to me this week. I was just with him yesterday, actually, and his name is Iggy Pup, because he reminds me of Iggy Pop because he's like a little rascal. Iggy Pop is part of the band Stooges and is punk rock icon, and so yeah, Iggy Pup is part of our family. Well, my dad had knee surgery, and that was like the impetus. Not only did I want to potentially bring a dog into my life. My life is a little crazy and busy, and it's hard to think that I could have that. But I was told that I should have it. Make room for this because I think it'll be good for you. And it was also to help my dad to he just had knee surgery, so like to get him physical, get him moving, and have some companionship, you know. Yeah. So he's part of the Webb family now. He's a little Iggy Pup Webb.
Now is that the only animal you have, pet? Or do you have any more pets?
Oftentimes I'd be called an animal myself. Yeah, it's the only one that I currently I have.
Yeah.
But my brother has always been since I was a kid. We've had pets my whole life, right? But my brother breeds dogs, and he takes in foster dogs. Currently, he has a few sled dogs, Alaskan Huskies, which are like from Alaska. They're indigenous. There's Inuits, there's Alaskan Huskies, and basically those are dogs that run the Iditarod or run cross-country in dog sledding. So he avidly dog sleds with my nephew. They go upstate New York. They train them in the summer in South Jersey. And, it's an actual thing, which is pretty extraordinary. He's a dog guy, and he's just always a dog. You want to you need some TLC, you need somebody to lick your face, you go see my brother, and he won't lick your face, but his dog will. You know?
So you've been busy for a few years. You've done interviews. What's one thing you wish you got asked in an interview that nobody ever asks you?
Oh, what's the one thing that I wish that someone would ask me?
Yeah.
Oh. I don't know. You want to come visit Italy for free? I don't know. Well, I guess I'm gonna deflect and not ask to not record. Out of the gate, I'm gonna deflect and not. Well, probably wouldn't have something personal to ask, but that's why I said Italy. But that's a good question, man. You know, I think you did. You asked me are you having fun? I think you might have nailed it. Are you having fun? Are you still enjoying it? And that's a real question. So I would say, are you happy? And because I think that's ultimately, despite all the success and the popularity and what comes with that, it's like, are you genuinely happy? And I guess I'm asking that question of myself. And I would say, yeah, I am.
That's
great. It's life takes work, but I think. I've had some strong, built some strong foundations leading up to all this, and I'm surrounded by really good people and family, and now I got a new pup. I got a dog to lick my face.
That's great.
To remind me that it's all going to be okay. Just stay focused.
So, lastly, how can the listeners find you on social media?
Oh, okay. Twitter, which I don't spend a great deal of time on. But I'm on there, and I appreciate the platform. That's Casey's Call. It's just plural. My first name, Casey's Call. I'm on, Facebook as Casey Webb. You can't miss my mug there. And then Instagram is I am Husky for Life. That's the number 4, and that's LIFB. I am Husky for Life. And then I have a website, which is just probably needs to be updated, but that's Casey website with 2 B's. So CaseyWebsite.com.
All right.
If you want to see some old stuff I've done in the past, other acting gigs and whatever. interviews. But yeah, thanks, man. This has been great. I really appreciate the time, and
thank you.
Stay warm there in
yeah.
Massachusetts.
Oh yeah, you too.
And congratulations. I don't know if you're a New England fan, but you guys won last night.
Oh yeah, it was a great night.
Yeah, that was yeah. I mean, you guys have been in it more than you haven't been in it. And I was lucky enough last year. I was while we were filming in Minnesota. It was the week of Super Bowl. We did 2 episodes. We did a Minneapolis episode. We did a St. Paul episode. And last minute I was able to go to the Super Bowl.
Oh wow,
bananas.
Oh yeah.
I as a Giants fan, I didn't want either team to win, but no offense, I was happy that Philly won.
Yeah, I think everybody was. So,
I guess it's for me. I'm I appreciate the Rocky Balboas of the world. I like the underdog, because they're usually scrapping harder, even though hands down, there's Patriots are an extraordinary team and have been for a long time. And it's good on them.
All right. So yeah, I want to thank you for coming on. This was fun.
I appreciate it, man. No, it was great. It's, oftentimes I don't get to talk about some of this stuff, so it's good to talk it out.
Yeah.